Hello and welcome. This is Alchemistexe, and today I'm going to be looking at 3 different units. And the reason for this is because the content schedule has increased its pace of units that get Job+s. So like the Shadow Messiah was 3 at once, and then we got Kanon, and then Vier in short order, and then we got Leafah right after that, and this next week we're going to be getting Lucia and Blair. And since I took too long post Shadow Messiah, I'm in a spot where I either have to be perpetually behind on covering units that I want to cover, or I'm going to have to accelerate to catch up. And with my schedule, it is just not feasible to do the long form videos. Like, I'd have to do like 3 of them or so a week, assuming it keeps the current pace, and I just don't think that I can do that. So what I would rather do is just briefly cover the 3 that I hadn't gotten to yet. And then that way I can share like my overall recommendation, which, spoiler alert, I think all 3 of them are good for very different reasons. And then some of the info is not as pertinent as it would have been if I'd done it in a timely manner. Like, say, Kanon's one is already over, and Vier's, by the time this video is posted, it pretty much is going to be over. Especially because I believe some of the milestones were contingent on hard quests, which can only be done once a day. So if you missed out on either of those 2, they will rerun again, and definitely get them if you didn't get the chance. And then for Leafah, you've got another week, so I would definitely recommend getting that as well. So just basic summary of each. Kanon is a physical / light unit who now has a great kit for just big AoE damage and a specialty in destroying Templars. As you saw, she deleted that Noin. Then Vier is a mage who can also be a really good support with her chrono abilities. And she is also a very good raid unit. And then Leafah is just an excellent support, specifically for missile units, even more so for wind missile units, but she absolutely excels in that niche. And so that's what those units do. And so first, let's take a look at Kanon. Okay, so the 4 things that I want to cover in these mini reviews are about acquiring the unit, some notes about anything gacha gated, and then how you get the Job+, and then finally just the important parts of the kit. And then, do one right after the other. So for acquiring Kanon, she is a free unit. However, she can be a significant time investment because of how getting all of her stuff works. So you'll find her in Sacred Stone Memories, and going from start to finish, you'll get everything from Kanon herself to soul shards to pieces of her equips to get her unique jobs leveled up. Everything with the exception of her Job++ is all going to be found in Sacred Stone Memories, either from missions, milestones, drops in the levels, etc. And then her Job++ is a level that is not active right now. It was a couple weeks ago, and it will rerun again next time another Sacred Stone character gets a Job++. So Yaris, I think, or maybe Atima. I think it was one of those 2. And then once you get all of that, and it can take quite a bit of RNG because of some of those equip drops. So I recommend doing it when either AP is 0 or drops are doubled, something along those lines. That'll make it a little more painless. And then as far as anything gacha gated, she has a normal pool memento, which is pretty solid, and then a limited memento, which is pretty cool, but it's also limited. So as far as planning goes, I would say get it if you really, really like Kanon and you want to have Kanon all built up, or otherwise if you just happen to pull it on some other banner, like I got it from one of those, like, get 5 stars things, and it just happened to get it. So I decided to invest in her more than I normally would have had I not gotten the memento. So as far as her actual kit goes, you're going to see a lot of light slash damage, as well as a few other fun support elements. My favorite move of hers is probably going to be Eternal Nova, just because it's a big fat instacast AoE. It's really hard to go wrong with that. However, it should be noted she can also lower light res, which potentially could make her useful in a raid situation, although you got to make sure that you're not losing out on a more potent way of either lowering res or doing increased damage. She can also stun with her Shining Referee, as well as raise her strong versus Templars with Radiant Conviction. So you're going to see, and she can do a little bit of healing too, and she's also got a jump attack. She's just got a pretty fun kit to use, and it's pretty simple. And then if you happen to get her limited memento, she can also do a fun thing where she puts a death sentence curse on herself and then has 5 turns to just attack with noticeably boosted stats and lower jeweled cost. So just stuff like that. It's pretty fun, but I can understand why one would consider her a troublesome unit to raise, because you kind of have to go through RNG hell, and you have to beat a level that also involves an aggravating amount of RNG just to beat. Probably got to beat it multiple times because it's hard to get all the milestones at once, potentially. So you have to be motivated to do it. But I will say that if you are willing to do it, you will end up with an excellent free unit. And then as far as skills go, I would just say Gate 2 is excellent. Like anything that gives you all the stats you want plus move +1, that helps a lot, because for her that extra move makes a pretty big difference. And then she's actually got a few options for like damage reduction in her reactives, and then everything else I would just say comes from her Job+. So pretty simple to kit out, pretty simple to gear out. Her sword, Excalibur, is from the EX levels in Sacred Stones, and then I would just pop VCRs on her, or situationally needed gears. But her coat from her normal pool also gives her auto jewel charge, which is nice, and then it gives her P attack charge up, so you can really lay the hurt on a Templar if you get strong versus Templar and then charge up and then attack them. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the abridged Kanon review. So now let's move on to Vier. Okay, and on to Vier. So Vier is a normal pool unit, so much simpler method of acquiring. Either you pull her from summoning, or if you have not gotten her yet, there's also the possibility of, if you get a 5-star unit selector, she's a good option. Any Templar that you don't have is, I would say, the best option if there are normal pool units you're missing. Farming for her is a little bit of a pain because even though she's a normal pool unit, she has an EX hard quest, so it can be slower to raise her, but they get doubled sometimes, and you will pull Templars just randomly. So that helps soften the blow a little bit. So as far as any gacha gated material goes, she has 2 gacha mementos, but they're both normal pool, so that makes it a little bit easier. I know I've mentioned it several times at this point, but apparently the selectors are most likely not going to be updated, so getting that second memento may be a little bit harder, but at least there's a small chance you can get it just randomly, either from a free daily summon or just pulling for something else. So at least there's the chance. But even if you don't have it, even if you don't have either of them, she's got a good enough kit that it's not that big of a deal. You could just run whatever memento leader skill you're running, or just any old thing that is good for Lustberg, and there's tons of those. And then as far as her Job+ goes, it is a dungeon quest style event. It is on the tail end. I mean, it'll probably be over by the time I release this video, or close to it. So that is something where you'd have to wait for it to rerun. So usually Templar Job+ is rerun, but they don't rerun every single one. Like right now, they did like 9. So if it doesn't happen on the next one, it'll probably happen on the one after that. So I believe the next one is going to be Zen's Job+, and then I think Oct after that. I could be wrong about that. So probably you're looking at maybe 3 months or so. But about her kit, she is a Thunder Mage, but then she's also got Chronomancer, and she can make great effect of that, either by increasing her skill count or making her immune to clock effects, giving her the Chronomancer sub instead of her Job+'s sub, so she can just start throwing out quickens. If you're smarter than I was, you could not level up the main skill on either Summoner or Chronomancer and then get yourself a good quicken bot for raids on auto. I unfortunately did not think to do that in her case. I did it with some other units, but not her. But when it comes to her actual kit itself, I would say the main bullet point is going to be the Silent Thunderous Spark, because it's a CT lowering, big AoE, you get Gate 5, it doesn't hit allies, You can raise her own M attack power. It's a very, very solid move. And then her Tragic Cliff, sorry, it used to be Tragic Cliff, now it's Tragic World End Down, is also really solid because it'll lower Thunder Res. And then if you're lucky enough to have her second memento and lucky slash reliefy enough to get it to max limit break, you can also get a magic res lowering down too, so you can stack those two together. But nonetheless, one of the reasons that she is an excellent raid unit is because you also have the option of running the Arcana Ratty reactive on her, and you can stack that with somebody else. Like, you can use her if you happen to have Nyx. You can use them together and stack all their res downs and CT downs for just boss destruction. Or if you don't have Nyx, then she can fulfill the same role that he does and help you, like, lower all element res, get people quickened, lower CT, all that jazz. So yeah, there's a few different ways you can run her. Her other passive is just a decent chance for physical evasion. And then I definitely recommend just enlighten her as much as you can. Maybe skip gate 3, because that's not going to do much for you. But all the other ones, she's just an absolutely excellent magic user. One of the best in the Thunder element. So yeah, that is... Oh, and then gears are either free from Sacred Stones or VCRs from Memento. Kind of similar position to Kanon. But, you know, agility, M attack modifier, that kind of thing. Can't go wrong. So yeah, that's all I have to say for this excellent unit. And let's move on to Leafah. Okay, so for Leafah, she is a limited unit, but you don't necessarily need to get her from the gacha. You can transmute her if you need to, and the way that you would do that is you would go into the Babel Chronicles, and I forget exactly how you unlock the Soul Shard quest. You might just have to beat the respective chapters. But each of these characters are all farmable once you've unlocked it. So because you don't need to own the unit, you can just do this 3 times a day until you have enough to transmute her. I did it with Wilhelm. I now have all of his gates maxed. So it can be done, in especially if you have double drops or if you have memory accesses and then use them when drops are doubled. I don't think they've done Babel double drops in a while, but hopefully they'll do it again soon, because there's a lot of very good units in here. I would recommend all of them, except maybe Ela, and you know, you never know what units might get upgraded in the future. So I'd say if it's not much sweat off of your back to acquire them, might as well have them. And then as far as anything that is gacha related for Leafah, aside from the fact that she's a limited unit, she does also have a limited memento, but as I said in the weekly update, I really don't see it as being that important to her kit. Just 100% luxury. It doesn't really help her do the job of buffing units, which is what her specialty is, specifically wind missile units, which admittedly is not a huge pool of units, but some of them are very free-to-play friendly, like Seda and Tamamo, and they have good kits, and she just makes them even better. And then if you happen to be lucky and then have Dark Artemis or Eulalia, then you've really got it made as far as destroying stuff with missile. So when it comes to kitting her out, oftentimes, since I got her Job+ anyway... Oh, actually, right. Her Job+ is still running for another week. Just do the EX levels, get the tokens, buy the stuff from the shop. It's pretty simple. But when it comes to mementos, I usually just run whatever memento leader skill I want to use. I'll usually give it to her unless a character that she's with has it. But because I don't really have any of the wind missile units mementos max limit broken, I'll just either have her be the leader or just give her something that like boost greed dike. You can use the VCR from Zahar's memento. The water won't help, but it will take care of your agility. And then otherwise, just give her stuff like HP. She doesn't need a whole lot. She just pretty much needs to be able to cast some of her amazing skills, such as the essential Yerlunger, which is a grid that will increase healing and missile damage. And then Indigo Kikamura, which will also boost missile damage and a big AoE. It's like Letitia's except for missile mod instead of M attack. She's like a super specific Letitia, whereas Letitia can help a giant boatload of units. She helps a few units, but she helps them really, really well. And then she's also got the all stat buff, super handy. And then she can also do a shield, because, you know, one of the problems with missile units is they can be squishy, so she can really help mitigate that damage. And it's one of those, much like little Ouroboros, like the shield will regen a few times. So just overall, absolutely great at what she does, even if what she does is super specific. And then as far as Enlightenment goes, 100% get her Gate 2, because it's on Echo, and Echo is already a really good skill, so just adding more stuff that she wants onto that is really good. And then definitely get her Gate 5, because you want to increase the amount of missile mod that you're increasing. Honestly, the other stuff is more, you know, it's good to have, but definitely 2 and 5. Very important if you want to maximize your missile mod units. Yeah, so that's about it. I would definitely consider all 3 units very, very worthwhile. Vier, I would say, is the most must-have of all of them as far as general usage, but there is definitely great ways to use all 3 of these units. So hopefully going forward, I can go back to the more honed in long form style of reviews for units now that I'm more caught up to what is currently coming out. If I can pop in both Blair and Lucia in the span of 1 week, then I'll be in pretty good shape. If not, I might have to do these more abridged reviews depending on, you know, how the schedule goes. So yeah, that is about it for now, and I will see you all next in the weekly update. See you next time.